Hey guys. My name is Julie. And I'm back with issue number 6 volume 1 of Lyntek's Energy Tips newsletter. To get it, subscribe to oilgas.lyntek.store or on YouTube. Click on subscribe button below and activate the bell for notifications. I'm looking forward your comments and questions. On fast return. Leave a like at the end, if you will. This is the episode number 4. The last from the series Help Me to Help You. About attracting investments for oil and gas in Brazil. In this video, we will see the point setting apart the Brazilian energy market. Focusing on directions oil and gas market has been taking on the energy transition. The former, leading the country's energy matrix, is the third on national economy mainstays ranking, along with livestock, and second only to agriculture and auto parts production. The Brazilian oil and gas unique characteristics stand out in the current world market as a win-win game. From the extensive reserves aimed mainly for supplying the huge domestic consumer market, its massive government policies and investments, turning out even the least attractive projects into great drivers on business and jobs. And out of this market high take from the state-owned oil company, its open data from public service transparency legal requirements, sets a safe direction for investments. From measures have increasingly been opening up this market, and the usual resources high availability. The country has asserted itself as one of the most relevant global hubs. Basis for the energy matrix. Foreign exchange bringing on exports, as well as taxes revenue, and high-end productive business and jobs. The exclusivity of state-owned Petrobras in the pre-salt has been ruled out. Hence, a consolidated calendar was created for the basin auction rounds, under new simple and realistic rules for supplying local content, and for the sector tax exemption greater stability, although still complex. From the Repetro extension, the market has come up more democratic. From keeping equal treatment for foreign companies. After overcoming the confidence crisis on Petrobras and its downsizing. In addition to the global issues of price in the pandemic, this sector has recovered its warming and the jobs yielding pace, including the excellent outlook for drilling and development, and demand growth, keeping the structure and production availability. So this is a unique time for challenges overcoming and opportunities turning into investments in this sector of paramount importance for Brazil. The sector raised 1.4 trillion BRL between 2007 and 2017. In next 10 years this should be over 1 trillion BRL. In taxes, special participation, bonuses and royalties. It brings impact on several other segments and leverages the country's economy, yielding jobs, income and investment in research and development, which in last 10 years reached 10 billion BRL. Currently, 52,000 companies are in this sector chain, including operators, suppliers and commercials. It contributes to the social fund and the trade balance surplus. It is the fourth in the export ranking. Its product represented 8% of Brazilian exports in 2017. More than livestock and vehicle manufacturing. Just behind soybeans, air, land and rail transport materials and metallurgical ores. Both soybeans and metallurgical ores depend on oil and gas. For logistics and distribution, it is basically responsible for Brazil's transition from a net importer to a net exporter. In 2017, this sector added $21.2 billion or 46% to the trade balance. Keeping a surplus in the trade balance helps the BRL's valuation and the improvement of purchasing power of import-dependent Brazilian companies to lower inflationary pressures from the pass-through. That is, by lowering the dollar value, the imported products' prices or the fluctuating with dollar ones, like oil, will be less hit by the monetary impact, minimizing inflation, and therefore, keeping interest rates lower. This boosts investments, jobs and growth in the country. This sector local outlook is excellent. From the open market expanding at all levels, until the product's distribution, all according to the global energy transformation. On this dynamic scope, 32 new FPSOs should be operating by 2028. Several operators are still in exploration phase. Total expects to start drilling in 2021. Wintershall between 2022 and 2023. BP Energy between 2021 and 2022. And ExxonMobil is now starting its campaign. Due to the pre-salt oil low sulfur content, its exports are taking off. Out of the International Maritime Organization's IMO 2020 resolution, ruling the maximum sulfur limit lowering in the bunker from 3.5% to 0.5%. Petrobras' divestment plan for the oil, natural gas and refining markets opening, according to the termination commitment terms, TCC signed with Code, has been drawing several new players, bringing on more investment, more jobs, and more options for the country's goods and services industry and its supply chain. Offshore and onshore, from the Reed and Palmer programs, mature field specialists are investing in the recovery increasing. Like PetroRio, Perenco, Karoon, Trident Energy, 3R Petroleum, PetroReconcavo. In addition, there are several Petrobras assets for sale in hubs such as Arucu, Nordkapaksaba, Petiguar, Alagos, Carmopolis, Bahia Terra, Marlim, Albacore and Albacore Leste. The royalty percentages fitting and contractual requirements streamline. In high-risk and low-oil potential fields, look for increasing those deposits' useful life and recovery factor. The natural gas market changing deserves special mention, from its importance recognized as a fuel for energy transition through the Gas New Market program, which looks for strengthening its Petrobras-dominated chain. This is done by easing access to new entrants, including essential infrastructures, from increasing competitive edge to reduce prices, in addition to several fitting regulatory initiatives, for assuring legal certainty to investors, to take full advantage of the huge potential. For example, from the thermoelectric energy production, or as a raw material to replace diesel and fuel oil, and from LNG, to bring natural gas in regions without gas pipelines, like the new Fortress Energy billionaire investments in Brazilian LNG. Several assets. Petrobras has been amassing up to 98% of the Brazilian oil refining capacity, in which the imported products share is under 15% of the in-country total sales. Now, half the refineries are being divested, since the refineries are connected to marine terminals where the oil arrives, and for the liquids coastal shipping. The divestment shall also reach this logistics structure. Refining products are also currently being delivered to distributors by state-owned pipelines, which reaches about 60% in waterways. In distribution there is not such predominance, where more than 150 companies are competing with each other. BR Distribuidora has already launched its IPO. This amounts to 9.6 billion BR reals in divestment. The resale is spread over 40,000 authorized service stations, while the natural gas market is being supplied by a gas pipeline network from several private companies with the advance already achieved in divestment. On the other hand, future risks threatening new environment competitive edge and growth must be mitigated. For that, focus must be on a new regulatory framework, not only for production, but including distribution and logistics, like coastal shipping, as well as for local content, environment and research and development. With simplified taxation, timeliness, stability and compliance in public administration, in addition to legal certainty. All of this does not mean Brazil is not aligned with the global energy transition, which has been steadily establishing itself as a global, non-expendable and definitive demand. And it could not be different, because it is everyone's duty to plan and bequeath a healthier planet for future generations. to the point several important investors in the oil and gas market have been pledging unconditional and exclusive migration of their usual investments to renewable energies ones. However, and luckily, this is not an unanimous stance. Before new technologies became completely feasible, out of maturity of methods, costs and efficiencies, the planet would collapse due to lack of energy. We cannot forget transition means coexistence between what exists today and what we want to reach tomorrow. In 2020, the International Energy Association, IEA, concluded, even on a relevant growth on demand for renewable energies scenario, reflecting all policies, intentions and goals pledged by countries so far, the oil demand must increase up to 2030, keeping that level reached up to 2040. Therefore, investments in oil and gas production keep being essential to secure energy demand in coming decades. In Brazil, oil and gas intend serving continuously the country and the world by mixing up with the ongoing transformation. In the United States, the President Joe Biden confirmed his commitment for greater emancipation of policies to decarbonize the global energy matrix. However, the country keeps heavily dependent on oil and natural gas in upcoming decades, including jobs and revenue. For oil and gas companies, this scenario change means their expansion should roll out abroad for market consolidation and expansion, which fits perfectly in the current proposal for Brazilian oil and gas for becoming increasingly more receptive to foreign investments. The oil companies Chevron, ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips for now do not signal their transformation into energy companies, focusing its transition actions basically on goals to reduce greenhouse effect emissions, besides investments in research and development projects and carbon capture and storage, CCS. The first two companies keep seriously investing in the Brazilian oil and gas market. Chevron has acquired 11 assets at auctions, on 3 as an operator, while Exxon since 2017 has acquired 24 exploratory blocks, on 14 as an operator. According to its local CEO, the reasons for these acquisitions are the reforms taking place in the oil and gas sector, the single operator flexibility at pre-sold, local content adjustments, including more realistic goals, the rate petro tax exemption regime extension, and the basin auction rounds resume on a predictable schedule. The Brazilian Institute of Petroleum, Natural Gas and Biofuels, IBP, representing the major oil companies operating in the country, including Chevron and Exxon, also pleads for recall of Petrobras' preference on assets operation by the production sharing regime. Support to Petrobras divestments and opening of the refining and natural gas markets, including the regulatory reform, are among the action plan of the Brazil-USA Energy Forum, USBEF points, created in March 2019, for identifying barriers to commercialization and opportunities in the energy sector. In Brazil, biofuels such as ethanol, biodiesel, solar energy and onshore wind power are already a reality, not to mention the country's hydroelectric tradition, as biogas, biomethane and offshore wind power keep growing. To explore all the huge potential for energy production, whose sources diversity puts the country above average of the cleanest energy matrices in the world, and ahead of more than half all countries. For relevant number of local companies neutralizing or seeking to identify more opportunities to offset carbon emissions. So, we have finished the Help Me to Help You series for attracting investments to the Brazilian energy and oil and gas market, which has started with improvements must be pursued for that. As for the structure and integration between economic and social factors such as production and consumption in Episode 1, and capital and labor in Episode 2, as compared to the advanced economy stage, foregoing on Episode 3, with a proposal to improve the popular initiative constitutional right as an instrument for that change. To end in this Episode 4 video. with Brazil's natural potential for oil and gas and clean energy. In addition to the changes already happening in those sectors to attract such investments. All links already here on the screen for those videos, as have been showed by Ana in Portuguese. Comments and questions about this edition will be quickly answered too. Do not miss the newsletter next issues. One of them will bring in unheard analysis from Mate Tony Bastos, Lintec director, likening the new energy segment in Brazil, namely, comparing the new clean energies to the traditional one, having the oil and gas as a proxy for assessment of differences between market structures, regulatory demands, and their current stages, on an outlook for each one's evolution in the country. Thank you for your attention throughout the series. For Anna's sake too. See you next. Bye.